Because I know many people are going to be ignorant, I'll say this right here and now at the beginning of this video. Snoot Game promotes inclusivity and tolerance in many areas in both a wholesome and toxic manner. The community around it is mostly made up of passionate and wonderful people, including LGBTQ, trolls, and ordinary people. Take my honest word for it and do not watch this video if you haven't played the game, as it contains a lot of spoilers that I think you should experience for yourself. If you've never played it before and you're basing everything off of social media, then don't bother arguing about this until you actually sit down and do, because nothing you say has any weight or merit when you don't know anything at all. Viewer discretion is strongly advised, as this can and will be triggering for a lot of people for different reasons, while others may be able to grasp what this game is trying to express through itself as a lesson or a milestone throughout your life. This game is extremely controversial owing to the social media drama surrounding the LGBT community, due to it being claimed as nothing but a mockery to GVH and to some a physical attack on them directly, since a lot of the assets are used and taken directly from GVH and of course was made originally as an offensive parody by the 4chan community. If I wanted to take a page from the novel, I would definitely choose The World That Does Not Revolve Around You. Snoot Game is a fair use parody and a very shocking visual novel that discusses a wide range of themes on which many of us may agree with and may not agree with, simply because a lot of these topics are hard-hitting scenarios depicting real people and their mental struggles, both good and bad, that most people simply refuse to talk about, because they are very disturbing. While I can relate to a lot of the interactions here, I certainly understood the angle that 4chan was trying to take, which was to be as overly offensive out of spite, to the point where it felt like it was actively trying to weed out specific groups of people and to get their attention, while still managing to cater to others with a very compelling story bound to make a lot of players reflect on their own life. Now consider the strategy that is most effective for getting people to react on social media. That's right, be controversial, talk about things in a very blunt and ignorant and insulting manner, and suddenly people who are unaware of the drama going on will be more than likely to join in and also cash in on the hot topic and to begin selecting sides. This ends up giving you all the free media coverage you will ever need. Classic trolls, winning the battle that many fall for, while people play the game in question out of pure spite, curiosity, and of course, pure hatred, to see what it is fully or just finding any excuse in the first 5 minutes, which it is, yes, mockery, but also some of the most peak visual novel gameplay you're ever going to experience if you do by chance have the mental capacity to simply look past all of the bigotry, which is literally just placed there to get anybody who is very sensitive to form an argument, making it really impossible for them to see anything else that it has to offer because they've already fallen for the weeding out process. And if you're not weeded out, you'll definitely be able to see that despite all of the unnecessary moments of racism and satire content, there is a lot here to unravel. I was actually very hesitant to experience Snoot Game because of what people were saying online, how it was tearing people down, actively laughing at them, which is highly exaggerated as you should expect, with the use of many slurs and customized slurs for specific characters like the MC being a Neanderthal, or Trish and her nickname, which is literally to play on the N-word, and among other things, the discussion and displaying of school shootings, suicides, and many other disturbing themes that are bound to make some people very uncomfortable due to real-life trauma. I really can't say I enjoyed any of these specific portions of the story at all, because it was feeling a little bit too real and relatable in the world that we currently live in. It definitely felt over-exaggerated, but some exchanges did make a lot of sense to me, because I've also been intimidated and verbally harassed by former friends for using the wrong pronouns, due to the fact that I have difficulty articulating my words, oftentimes tripping up and calling everybody that I meet mom and dad as a habit, regardless of their gender, and I've even received death threats for simply reviewing a game like Hogwarts Legacy as a part of a previous job that I was associated with. I respect everyone and I respect everyone's wishes, but you gotta know that these types of interactions where you're physically threatening to harm others because you disagree with something, especially if they made an honest mistake and you just won't see reason to let them correct themselves, is just unacceptable. I understood where a lot of these discussions were coming from because I could empathize with them directly based on how the characters were behaving, but interactions like this, specifically from people claiming that they speak for everybody, are the problem because they don't. They only speak for themselves and only make others who don't have a voice look bad, as they then get caught in those egotistical webs of drama that make their lives terrible when they could have just been having a really great time. The story begins with Anon, a poor loser and 4chan internet troll who is doing his best to get people's reactions with his blog posts and his replies while watching anime and playing video games all day. He is portrayed as a shallow-minded asshole who doesn't really care about anybody else, and he has no friends due to his life being so bleak, especially having to move because his previous school discovered that he was a weeb with cringe Photoshop pictures of him and his favorite anime waifus like they were his real girlfriend. girlfriend. He is forced to relocate reluctantly and ends up in the Volcadera Bluff Skid Row district, where he lives in constant fear of being mugged on his way to school. This is nothing to stop him from trying to constantly shitpost, of course. When he finally arrives at school, he meets Fang and her group of friends, with racial slurs thrown about at any opportunity given that he is a human and the only one at this all-dino high school, making him a very easy target. The racial insults continue throughout the story, becoming a lot less frequent as time goes on, but it does feel very forced and on purpose throughout the first few hours as a method to make a lot of people uncomfortable and triggered by a lot of the misuse of pronouns, arguments, and just decisions that Anon has with them because he's just a complete moron. Despite this opening, if you do stick with it, you'll notice that this facade that Anon has been erecting to keep people out so that he can be alone falters, and you start to understand he's actually a very stupid but respectful person down a handful of the paths that he takes. Thinking about Anon is something that caused me severe anxiety, which is strewn throughout the entire experience that affects everybody differently at certain points. We all have our own problems that we as people need to deal with in our own ways, but some things can't be easily mended with the help of friends or family. Oftentimes with the help of others, particularly those who are manipulative, it ends up being the worst case scenario because even if they don't realize it, they are not doing it to help, but rather to push their own ideology onto individuals who are currently confused and vulnerable and really haven't had time to straighten themselves out. Sometimes you just need time to yourself to figure things out until you come to your own conclusion, and this is how I saw the narration, not as a mockery, but as a story about self-reflection and finding yourself. Once again, this game does come across in every single way as incredibly cringe and insulting to many parties, which are frustratingly relatable and real, and also a hilarious show of comedy and memes. The former is what most are concerned with, than simply being able to be a bit more neutral towards it to understand if there's more to it, so they just refuse to see it for what it truly is. To me, it felt like a depiction of a more exaggerated high school experience, with subjects that were, once again, very sensitive and real, as well as the irritating side of things which does not reflect towards everybody involved. Here, Trish is depicted as a very unlikable person, somebody that does nothing but yell their complaints away and never sees reason no matter how many times you tell them the truth. Everything revolves around them and their manipulative ways, and they are insufferable until you try to understand the true nature of their actual life, compared to somebody with a much more reasonable display of affection like Rosa, who is highly supportive of everybody and attempts to bring people together through reason and respect rather than useless arguments that destroy friendships and put other people down. It depicts the ups and downs of adolescence, like the inability to fully comprehend one's own identity, their worries, aspirations, friends, families, and a variety of other different topics. You might call me blind, but my opinion is not negative. I saw several supporting aspects that led me to feel this was an inclusive experience for everybody involved. I'm only trying to express my experience with this game, which has given me multiple anxiety attacks and had me running to friends in apology and also fear to talk with them on numerous occasions and force me to conduct a lot of self-reflection of my own life, which is unusual as this is not a feeling that I was ever expecting to have with this. Like, I get sad and happy and angry when I play video games, but this feeling is completely different. I despise it. It scares me, but I understand that was the intended result. Because this is ultimately a game about growth and becoming a better person no matter where you find yourself in life, be it non-binary, gay, male, female, so long as you are happy and good to yourself and of course to those around you. I thought it was good to see Fang not get caught up in Trish's deceptive webs of "I'm right, do what I say" mentality when she was trying to find herself during her adolescence. Sure, the game is trying to change her as a way to fix her through Naomi's selfish manipulation, but Anon didn't see any reason to fix her with the true ending, because he loves her and respects her for who she wants to be or who they want to be, so long as it's not a decision made by a third party. In my headcanon, I love the idea that Reed and Rosa are basically together because Rosa is still trans in my mind, which shows a lot of support and inclusiveness. What the game shows a lot of malice towards are those that shove their ideals down everybody else's throat unwillingly, more so than hating on the LGBTQ. I had a phase when I was younger, and I wish I could go back and fix things. I was alone throughout my adolescence until I discovered who I was by trial and error, which ultimately damaged my social life, and I believe that it still is ruined to this day. But despite everything, I'm rather content with who I've become. However, if somebody were there at the time to mold me into their ideal image of themselves, or even something else, I would have been at their complete mercy, which is how it felt like it was with Fang and Trish. This is how Fang was treated. They had no say in the matter and they were being puppeted, and despite all of the changes that they underwent, Anon was still more than happy to accept what they chose for themselves because he truly loved them, not because of somebody else. While many detest this game, it has been a transformative experience for myself and many others. GVH, I Wanna Hug That Gator, Snoot Game, and all of the community-made mods have all combined to create one of the best visual novel trifecta experiences that I've ever had the honor to play through, filling in so many of the gaps that I wished had not been cut out of GVH. And I've played GVH twice, but if I went back for a third approach, everything that was left out and filled in with all of these other games, even as a parody, would make me feel so much more positively towards it, because without this experience, this whole roller coaster would have never come to be. The only thing that wouldn't change would be my opinion of Naomi. Fuck you. If Co-op and Cavamon Studio ever did consider collaborating to create something together with visuals, voices, and fantastic story writing that exudes this much anxiety and panic in the reader, I would wholeheartedly support something more akin to I Wanna Hug That Gator. All I can say is thank you everybody who was involved with all 3 games, whether it's through the modifications, the story, the drama, the existential feelings, or the fear that it caused for me and many others. You've had a massive positive impact on many of our lives.